Hello everybody, hope you're all doing fantastically well. It is Connor here. We're back with another episode of Leeds have signed a player, or the rumour mill, or whatever you want to call it. Hope you're all doing fantastically well on this sultry I will say, Thursday evening, where in England it doesn't know whether it's raining, whether it's hailstoning, whether it's mild cloud. It's just, I think we've had 4 days of summer this entire period, and it's September tomorrow. So listen, we need some Leeds United signings to cheer us up. So it looks like Elia Gruev has been signed by Leeds United for an undisclosed fee. It looks like it's around about sort of 5 to 6 million quid. He's going to be slotting into that defensive midfield role in that double pivot. Looks like he's going to be there with Ethan Ampadu. Maybe give Archie Gray a little bit of a rest, which will be very, very nice. You expect that central midfield area is going to be also reinforced by Glenn Kamara, who looks set to sign tomorrow, I believe. I don't think anything more is going to get done this evening when it comes to Leeds United. There's been loads of rumours about Roma winger Solbakken that we're interested in, and listen, there's just rumours absolutely everywhere at the minute. It's who do you believe? You know, how to believe certain things, but yeah, I think the big one at the moment is Sinistera. I want to get your take, everybody, so far on how you rate in the window as well. I think it's definitely, it's going to be comprised of certain factors happening over the next 24 to, well, it's going to be the next 24 hours, 24 to 28 hours now until the deadline's shut, and what Leeds need to do. What would you rate it out of 10? Loads of things to discuss today. So I'm going to be reading your comments. Everton strongly in for Cine. Yeah, Sam, thank you, mate. I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy. That's, trust me, to get all of the gear in here is, I'm a poet and I don't even know it, is an effort. So I think, the whole relaxed vibe is a little bit nicer than just being sat in a cupboard. So appreciate that a lot. Kamara's just passed his medical, just served him at ER in hospitality. Glove, are you being serious there? Are you being serious? If you are, fair enough, mate. And yeah, fair play for your intel. It's going to be interesting to see. I think, yeah, Kamara's going to be signed, sealed and delivered, but there's just so much to talk about, and it's great because obviously you guys know, and I do consistently as well, just talk Leeds and talk waffle, and this is what we all love doing, and hopefully these are little therapy sessions for you. Maybe this is why I'm on the sofa. I'm therapy for you lot, and you lot are giving me therapy as well. So yeah, loads to discuss. Sinistera. We'll start on him in a little bit, but let's talk about the new signing, Gruev. Elia Gruev, brought over from Werder Bremen, the Bulgarian midfielder. A lot of people talking about him being an Ampadu replacement. I replied to Laporza, who's an excellent account on Twitter. There's Ethan from Online on there as well. 2 excellent accounts who really put out really good, detailed, analytic Leeds content, which I respect a lot. And I replied to Laporza a little bit earlier on today, and there seems to be a little bit of a confusion that this guy's going to be rotated with Ampadu. For me, he's not. Just watch him as a compilation. There's one player who he reminds me of a lot, who's out on loan at the minute, away from Leeds United, who's probably maybe a level up from Gruev at the minute. But overall, it looks like a smart signing, looks like a signing that will be decent for us in the Championship. Will it be able to transition to the Premier League if we were to get there? That's another question. And I think that can be posed at many of the players that we've brought indoor. It's the Championship to the Premier League is such like a massive chasm. But as we know right now, the clear idea is for Leeds to get out of this division. Who needed help? Archie Gray. Who needs help as well? It's Ethan Ampadu. And with the signings of Glenn Kamara, with the signings of Elia Gruev, there's evidently going to be support there in that central midfield region. Leeds clearly thought that was a big, big thing as well, and I get that, Ampadu as well. Ampadu is Premier League level, and it's really nice now because the Tyler Adams chat weeks and weeks ago, it's gone completely quiet. I was so hard on Ethan Ampadu being a better player, a much better player than Tyler Adams, and I'm so happy that chat has now just gone quiet, because you can all see what a level up Ethan Ampadu is to Tyler Adams. But on that point, Ethan will also need rotation as well. Now, maybe that is where someone like Glenn Kamara comes in. I don't actually think we've got a profile in the 2 signings that completely replicates Ethan Ampadu's attributes. I think Gruev's a little bit different. I think he's a little bit more about ball progression, ball carries, decent in a press as well. Press resistant is what I mean by that. Glenn Kamara can play a little bit further up. So Ampadu, I don't really think we've got an exact replacement for him. Gruev probably fits it a little bit more, but he's a left-hand sided player on that defensive midfield pivot, and he's someone who is probably going to be the guy who's dictating play a little bit in that defensive midfield role. As I mentioned yesterday, when we saw Adams and Roca in the Premier League, that was what they were brought in for. Adams was meant to be the destroyer, the ball winner, and Roca was meant to be the distributor. I still think that's what Leeds will go for when it comes to Ampadu, but Ampadu's a much better player than Tyler Adams, so he's able to distribute a little bit as well, which aids Leeds United. So, yeah, Gruev looks like a smart signing. And when Glenn Kamara comes in, at long last, that looks to be a decent signing as well. So, yeah, overall, really positive about the day's business. I'm glad they've addressed the central midfield chasm, because even when we're in the Premier League and, we signed Adams and we signed Roca, I remember turning around to my old man. By the way, we've done a Generation Leeds, everybody, on the Patreon account now live. But I was speaking to my old man about it when we did the signings, and I thought, so what happens if Adams gets injured? What happens if Roca gets injured? There's no profiles. What, we're looking at Sam Greenwood? That's the depth. So what they've done this year is they've now actually got depth, and it's first team depth as well. We've seen Greenwood go out today. Likely to see JB go out. I think JB should be, if he is to go out, I do think it should be a loan. I would like to. I still want to give JB a lot of rope to get back into this Leeds side at some point. I think there's a lot of quality there with him. I just think there's too many holes in his game at this moment in time. But Leeds have actually got depth there now, which is good. Daniel Agar says, "Hey, Connor. It's been a cruel summer, but look on the bright side." I don't know if you're on about the weather, Daniel. I'd agree with you, my friend. The weather has been absolutely terrible, mate. But in terms of signings, yeah, I think they've done a decent job. I will come on this stream and evaluate on Friday at 11 p.m, where we will be going live here on One Leeds Fan Channel, and we're going to be covering tomorrow night. So please come join us if you fancy that. We're going to be covering it in depth. We're going to be discussing all the transfer window. Hopefully get some guests on as well. But it's going to be a massive day, and I still think Leeds are going to be busy. But let's have a look at where Leeds need to keep hold of players and where Leeds need to strengthen. So, central midfield. I said on here not long ago that they were in for two fullbacks, which we now know was Thomas and Spence. I said that we're in for a midfielder, from what I've been told, and two wingers. But I think the wingers were very much on the Solbakken, and it was Paintsel, wasn't it? So, yeah, that information, I guess, is true to an extent. But as these transfers move around all the time, don't they? It's like, things get sorted, things don't get sorted. Last week we were signing Amiri and Paintsel. Looks like those two are completely dead now. It's an ever-changing world. Sinistera, we'll start with him. If you lose Sinistera, and we saw against Salford, listen, if Joel Perreault is in that side, Leeds are scoring 5 goals. But the glue, the connection, the offensive guile, and I use that word a lot, the cunningness, the link-up play, the right decision-making, the football IQ, the balance, left foot, right foot, the weight of pass is Louis Sinistera. Louis Sinistera is the difference between Leeds right now and top 2. If you are to lose Louis Sinistera, and the club can dictate how much we get for him, it can be 35, 40, it can be 45. Let's bear in mind this is a window where we've seen certain personnel go for 55, 60 million. Louis Sinistera, by the way, is 24 years of age. His agent is calling Leeds, I can say this for a fact, every single day and trying to get a move for him. But it's not up to his agent. Cine, we've seen the last couple of performances, nothing's reduced from him. It's not like he's throwing his dummy out the pram. So it's up to Leeds what happens now. Now, I think this is why you're seeing Leeds get linked to winger after winger after winger, because the club are probably making plans to, if the worst does happen, to reinvest that money. Now, for me, that drastically reduces the potency of this window. He is the difference. He is the best player in the division. There's only one in terms of quality caliber who I put alongside him, and that's Keenan Dewsbury Hall. And probably Willie Gnonto, and maybe like Ricardo Pereira at Leicester as well. Kyle Walker. But, there's a lot of players with very, very decent quality, but I think star quality, you've probably got Keenan Dewsbury Hall and Louis Sinistera. Sinistera definitely top of that too in terms of quality. This is a player who can play, in my opinion, contend with the top 6, top 8 in the English Premier League. I think he's that good. So if Leeds are to keep hold of him, that not only is a good window for Leeds, but that is a statement that whoever comes up against us, you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble. Because as Gary Neville kept waffling on about last night, Leeds are this at the back, Leeds are that at the back. Okay, I still think you need to build from the back, which is what we're discussing today on Generation Leeds. But I think that signing, it pretty much would be a new signing, keeping hold of Cine. But if you're to keep hold of him, that's just warning signs of the entire division, because you can't keep, if you keep in, you'll struggle to keep him quiet. And we're talking about central attacking midfield as well. There can be a little bit of fluidity there. There can be Rutter, there can be Sinistera, there can be Somerville, Gnonto, Pirro. There can be constant interchange. There can be constant movement there. We don't need to have a standardised number 10. It can be movement throughout a game, like we saw against Ipswich. It can be Pirro slotting in there, Rutter slotting in there, Cine coming in, being inverted, entering that attacking midfield role. We don't need a standardised Buendia. But I think the creativity, the link-up, the intelligence, and obviously the quality of Louis Sinistera is... I think if you remove him from that front four, I do think you do... I'll be honest, I think you do see a significant downturn. Not a downturn as in, oh my God, we're not going to have one of the best attacking quartets in the division. Nothing like that. But I think it goes from the best by a country mile into, okay, it's in the realm of top 3, top 4 still, when you include maybe Dan James, that without any disrespect. And Somerville, who I still think's excellent, by the way. It's just Sinistera is that 3-4 level above. You saw it even the other night against Salford. It's Salford. But you saw when there was a real lack of composure, which was said by Michael Bridges, Gary Weaver, Gary Neville, and we're all thinking it, lack of composure. We were unlucky the other night, but there was a lack of composure. It was very rash in front of goal, because a lot of the, Rutter, Somerville, Gnonto, the kids, they're still kids. Obviously, if you put your Perot in that dynamic, it'd change a lot, but Sinistera came on, and as soon as he comes on, he attracts 3 or 4 players, like Rafinha used to do. 3 or 4 players, they're all drawn to him, and there is space. Suddenly there's space. His percentages are elite. He barely misplaces a pass. Every decision he makes comes off 98% of the time. So him in this division is key, and I think Southampton are probably going to be able to keep hold of a couple of their star players in their side right now. Dependent on, I think they're going to be able to keep them, to be honest. Leicester are probably thinking the same thing. But Leeds have got to keep hold of him. As I say, I think it's as significant Leeds keeping Sinistera as it is realism as going top 2. That's what I think. I think you take Cine out and it's a top 6 battle. I think we'll definitely be up there with the recruitment that we've made, but keep Sinistera and it's top 2. I'm convinced of it, if another thing happens as well. Let's have a look. Scott says we can go up without Cine, but we'll definitely go up with that. I think that's a really good way of putting it, Scott. I think it's a really good way of putting it, mate. How would you feel about Matt Target? Says Ramit. I wouldn't mind that. Ramit. I wouldn't mind that at all. Matt Target has applied his trade for Newcastle, Villa consistently as well at the top level, Southampton as well. Very defensively strong left back, but once again, I'm not going to go on about it, but Matt Target is very, for me, defensively orientated as a left back. You've got another left back who's defensively orientated, who's ready for Leeds' transfer right now. We all know who we're talking about. Just go and get that one done. It's much easier. But who knows? There's been no links to Cine. He's not going anywhere. Frank, I hope you're right, mate. I hope you're right. And I think this is all, it's all very well and good as saying this. Teams panic. Teams panic, and it's going to be a lot of money, and we're gonna see Leeds' resolve be tested. It could come from Europe. It could come from Europe, but it also could come from the Premier League. We're going to get Everton. Everton are ones where you look at and you think, Beto signing for what, 25, 30 million, maybe gets them out of the race. Who knows? One to keep an eye on would have been Nottingham Forest. If Spurs were able to get Brennan Johnson for 50 million quid, what would they then do with that 50 million quid? They saw a perfect artist's example when Sinistera tore Nottingham Forest apart last season and scored that fantastic goal. They got first-hand view of how good Sinistera is, and obviously they'll have scouting reports, analytics on him and all this sort of stuff, and we'll have seen how good he's been for Leeds. But I think it's going to be interesting to see, would Brentford push that boat out? Are they going to test the resolves? Are they going to put 25 million in 10 add-ons like we always see all the time? It doesn't have to be 40 million up front, does it? This can be passed over for 3 to 4 years, which might not impact that club straight off the bat. Palace, another one to keep an eye on. But yeah, I think that Leeds are in a very, very good position. But I'm talking about the impact of losing Sinistera. Right now, it turns an 8 window into a 6 window for me. And I've sounded that out with Oscar. I've sounded that out with Gabe, and they're in the same boat. I think that takes it from an 8 to a 6 for a window. I think just purely on the basis that Cine takes us up. So yeah, and I also think that if he's playing incredibly well, for Leeds United, and it gets to a point where you get to January and you get in an Everton panicking, which is probably going to happen, and they're in the FFP restraints or whatever happens, or there's a European club who are panicking, Leeds can demand more from him, for him, because we're in a position of even more power. He's played brilliantly. Well, no, you only come in for Sinistera now. He's proven that his injury record's decent for this part of the season. You come in for him, you want him, you're paying this amount for him, that's it. Or he's not going anywhere. We don't have to sell him. And I think that's the position Leeds should be in now. The advantage Leeds have is Cine's injury record. Cine's injury record is actually a massive advantage for us, because is a team going to spend 35, 40 million on Sinistera with his injury record? It's a massive risk. Yeah, Herbie, it's not a bad shout. It's not a bad shout. Someone said this to me earlier on today as well. That name will remain nameless. But yeah, someone did say that to me today. You got to think as well. If his agent is touting him out everywhere, which I can tell you he is, if his agent's touting him out everywhere, it's where the money is as well. So the Saudi League might not be a bad shout. It might not be a bad shout whatsoever. Whether or not he'd want to do that is up to Sinistera. But as I've just mentioned, Leeds need to hold strong. We've got 30 hours to hold strong, and you get Glenn Kamara done, and it's a decent window. It's a very decent window from Leeds United. If you sell Sinistera, yeah, nah. I think that front line, he dots together completely. And you'll never get a more obvious example than the other night for me. We don't need to demand anything for Sinistera. We don't need the money, and we'll only sell for cash. Yeah, well, hopefully you're right. Connor, do you have any actual information that Charlie said is willing to come this second? I don't know anything, mate. As I say, I don't speak to him. But what I know from people who do speak to him is, he wouldn't be, if he's to drop down, it would be a Leeds move because he's a Leeds fan, So this is why I'm always on here saying, what are they doing? What are they doing? Like, what is it, Luke Thomas or bust? And we're going to get into that. Joshua Brown is the number 10. I don't really know if he's a 10, Connor. He's probably more of a 6 or an 8, but yeah. Impossible to replace in the Championship. Yeah, he is. I also think Tyler is better on defence than Ethan. Ethan is gold. I don't know where this has come from, Jace. He's not. I mean, Ethan. Do you see Ethan Ampadu's striking of a ball the other day? I don't think he's renowned for being an attacker. I completely disagree with that. I think Ethan Ampadu is as good as Tyler Adams. It's not. Listen, it's my opinion, but I've seen nothing. I think in ground duels, Ethan Ampadu's unbelievable. I think a ball winner is more than as good as Tyler Adams. Percentage wise on the ball, Ethan Ampadu's miles better. I don't see. Does he cover ground quicker? I don't know what the margins are here for Tyler Adams. I completely disagree, and I think teams are missed out on Ethan Ampadu hugely, and it's to Leeds' credit. For me, you know, like I spoke about Spence being the signing of the window, but we're talking about permanent signing. It's Ampadu. Ampadu's captain material. He's quality. Has he said this? Has he said this, Josh? Where's he said that? Been knocked back by who? Has Phil Hay just come out and said that? Can we clarify that? I don't know. That would... No, I've not seen that anywhere, mate. I've not seen that anywhere, to be honest. Signing announcement just now. Phil Hay said it. Not seen that. No, I've not seen that whatsoever. I've just listened to something from Phil Hay as well. You got to think as well, everybody. I've said this multiple times, and you know, I understand. I get it's the quote unquote official sources, but they don't know everything. I can tell you that for a fact. They don't know everything just because they are the official reporters, journalists close to Leeds United. They really don't. You know, and you've seen that all window when it's as per Fabrizio Romano, as per Mike McGrath, as per. They really don't. Leeds could be working on a left back signing right now, but a lot of the journalists have spoken and said they've not heard anything, which they won't. They can't do anything about that. It's not their fault. But you know, don't just believe absolutely everything. You know, it's not gospel. Lots of interest in Cine still. Yeah, we know that. We know that. Charlie Taylor ages against him. He's late 20s. My age. My year at school. 29. Would you take Nico Schultz? Nico Schultz, yeah. Nico Schultz, I'd have to do a bit more research on, mate. I'm not going to give you... Phil broke the Ampadu story. I'm not saying he didn't. But there are a lot of stories this summer, as we've seen, that Phil didn't break. You know? Come on. Anyway. So, yeah, the left-back situation, and I can see a lot of people are getting into it right now. The left-back situation is massive. Even if you keep Sinistera, it's an 8 out of 10 window for me. Some people may say lower. For us to be relying, after going on Luke Thomas, was he our only target, Luke Thomas? If we're to go, and it's been a positive window, but let's, as a fan base, let's not all rewrite history. We all knew at the end of the window, a left back was absolutely key. More key than a right back. I would forsake a central midfielder for a left back at this moment in time. I really would if it was one or the other. And it looks like it's going to be Glenn Kamara. It looks like, obviously, it's Elia Gruev who's just signed. But a left back is huge. It's huge. Fullbacks, wingbacks, they dictate the tempo in most football games nowadays. They are vitally important in systems. What worries me a little bit is Farker said the other night that he's a massive fan of Jamie Shackleton. I like Shaq. I do. He's a utility man. I like Byram. He's a utility man. Junior Firpo is a bomb scare who's not dependable, reliable, consistent, good enough. If we're going into the season, and I understand it's the championship, but there is a severe likelihood that Junior Firpo, even if you're saying it's the championship, even if we take away him being rash, picking up a yellow card every single game, probably getting sent off in 2 or 3 games this season, even if you take that out of the equation, his injury record is shocking. It's another classic Victor Orta pick-me-up. Another one on the recruitment sheet, which has just not worked. So, because he played 3 or 4 decent games last season when the rest of the team were absolutely diabolical, so he shone a little bit, that doesn't give me the utmost faith that he's going to come in this season and be really good as a left-back for Leeds. Hence why Leeds went after Luke Thomas. Junior Firpo can get forward, but he can't defend. He's too tight, gets spun, Another one who defends square. He's rash, picks up a yellow card, and as I've just mentioned off the pitch, he's injury prone. So I think as Leeds fans, we all understand that a left back needed to be done at the start of the window. Everybody was saying left back, central midfielder, striker, amongst other things, of course, which we learned after all these, these snakes went out on loan and left the ship to sink. But we all know a left back. Connor, Phil said on Squareball podcast that Burnley are not inclined to sell Charlie Taylor. There we go. They like Charlie Taylor, despite what they've tried with Taylor and the question being asked of Burnley haven't been shown any inkling. There you go. It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting because from the player side, it would be fine. As I say, I can't speak for Burnley. I have no idea. I can't say their transfer policy, but I can't imagine. Maybe it's linked to Ian Maatson. Who knows? But yeah, there you go. I mean, that's from Burnley's side. I think from the player side, it would be completely different. But there you go. Firpo might surprise you, Connor. But why risk it? Why risk it? And this is what I mean. It's a good feeling of the window. Everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's happy, and rightly so. They've done really well. Nick Hammer's done a fantastic job. Steinson, in his first tenure, has done a big job as well. I'm a massive fan of what they've done so far. But when it's so glaringly obvious that a left back has been needed for so long at this football club, why not go out and do it? Why not go out and do it? Just a proficient left back. It just seems that would imbalance the back four. If you're getting Firpo only available for 25, 30% of the season, what's the alternative? Are we putting Jamie Shackleton left back? So we're talking about a back line of Spence, Roden, Strauch, Shackleton, or Firpo, or Yelder. It's underwhelming, and I think it makes the back line imbalanced. I do. And that, unfortunately, if we got a left back in, I'd be very much like when it's a central attacking midfielder, I'd be like, well, okay, like Perot can fill in there, Cine can definitely fill in there. He's very fluid when he plays football. Definitely when he inverts, he can fill in that role. Somerville, I know, okay, it's not great. It's not like the Buendia-esque thing, but that Leeds front four is way more fluid than Norwich's front four was under Daniel Farke, so I can accept it. The left back's something I can't accept. It's so obvious. It's so obvious in that back four. You build from the back, and we've done that in every other respect, apart from a left back. So, yeah, and as Paul says, no more square pegs in round holes. Need a natural left back. I say this every time, and you lot will get bored of me saying it. If you've got a right-footed left back and they're not comfortable on the left foot, they will constantly invert. We've seen it with Dallas. We've seen it with Berardi. They invert. Their natural way of playing is to get the ball, close their body off, and move centrally. The other team then pack out the middle of the pitch, as we've seen multiple times, even in the Championship when Barrow was playing, and Dallas, to be fair, was playing in there. The idea is then to pack out the midfield, because Leeds will not go down the line with a player who can barely use the left foot. They can't clip it over the line when they're moving with the ball because the left foot's not strong or good enough. They can't move up the wing with the ball on that left-hand side. They can't do it. So everything has to be on the stronger foot, which is the right foot, which means it negates width. So I just don't understand if you're playing a fluid, possession-based system which encourages the fullbacks to be expansive, be, creative as well, get some assists under your belt, but maraud forward, and for those centre midfielders to just cover those fullbacks when they get forward, or one of the centre midfielders do that. Why on earth you would just let that position almost just swing the quality like that? I don't get it. I just don't understand that. I think it's a little bit of just a bad way of doing things. Conor McLund says, always bring back Borthwick Jackson. Yeah, exactly, mate. Get Borthwick back in. Bring back Borthwick. Say that when you're drunk. Speaking of Dallas, any danger of him coming back soon? I don't think so, mate. Jeff says, with the left back and Sinistera, it's a 10. It's a 10. If you bring in Glenn Kamara for me, No, no, you're right. Yeah, no, I'd give it a 9.75 because if I'm being completely picky, I'd want a, I would want an attacking midfielder. Yeah, so maybe you're right. Maybe you're right, Jeff. I think you're spot on there, actually. Maybe not a 7.5, but yeah, 9.5, definitely. It's been nigh on perfect. But it's good. The positive is they've asked about if you guys are. I mean, I've not seen the Phil Hay on the square ball. If they have said that, if that is the request, they've asked about Charlie. Burnley have said no. Thomas was a weird one for me because Leicester just didn't want him to go to Leeds, so they pursued that for a while. But yeah, it's a weird one for me. So they know left back. They know they want a left back. That sounds absolutely ridiculous, but it can't be. It can't be. It can't be, mate. I'm not having it. I can't. Like that's emotion running away from you with you, mate. It can't be. We can't be potentially going into the window, into the season ahead with Firpo, Shacks and Yelder as left back options, and for you to say it's a 10 out of 10 window. I can't have it. That's just the good feeling of a new signing and all this sort of stuff. And I get it. I do get it. But that's you getting excited in the way. There's no way it's a 10 out of 10. We've still got to figure out what's happening with Sinistera. We've got 30 hours left on that one. But yeah, no, I get it. Obviously, it's subjective. People have got a good feeling, but I just don't see how it's a 10 out of 10 window when Leeds are looking at a left back. They wanted Thomas. They wanted Taylor by what you guys are saying. They've asked Burnley about him, so they know the left back's a problem. If they now leave the window without a left back, they can't be satisfied either. You can play anywhere, Juan. You can play anywhere. Dennis Kirkin from Sunderland. Yep, can't say to know a lot about him. I'd hope so. I'd hope so because Sam Byron was never going to be fit for the whole season. So I'd hope so. 6 out of 10. Andrew, I think that's a little bit low, mate. I'd say the window's been a little bit better than that. We also, yeah, exactly 14 Yorks. Once again, Williams, right-footed left back. I'd have been narked off with that as well. We might as well just have stayed with Shaq. Yeah, and honestly, if we'd have got Brandon Williams, I'd have turned around and gone, well, what's the point? What's the point? Just stay with Shackleton. You know, I don't think Brandon Williams is like a cut above him, to be honest with you. We also tried to get Manning as well, and we did try to get Manning. Yeah, so Pirot, Jed, and Purdue make it a minimum of a 7. Yeah, more aligned with that. Lee says getting a left back and it's job well done. Tide's turning. Connor, what about Josh Tiemann? Yeah, he's there. He is there, isn't he, Josh Tiemann? Apparently Swansea are really keen on him. A lot of praise, Josh Tiemann. He's always been a wonder kid, hasn't he? He's always been one of those that apparently the Premier League clubs have been looking at, and it's almost like he just needs that breakout. But yeah. I don't think Sinio Nonta will go. Nat Phillips is crap, Connor. Yeah, I know. I don't know if he's crap, but he's not. I mean, if you're offering me Joe Roden or Nat Phillips, I'm saying the club's done a really good job there. Yeah, Nat Phillips he's just another Cresswell. Just another. I never understood. But I got it because I was at one point I was desperate. I was like, are we ever going to get a centre back? I was just desperate. But Nat Phillips, yeah, he's just a physical centre back, isn't he? Old school centre back, and I think you need a little bit more to your game nowadays. Thought you were a City fan, mate. I've never been a City fan, ever. When I do City content, I'm on City Fan Channel. I'm on the City, our Man City account, saying I'm a big Leeds fan. Go listen to the podcast, my friend. Love your content, Connor. Great work, mate. Cheers, pal. Connor Taylor Howard Bellis to Southampton. Yeah, that's a bit of a disappointing one, unfortunately. I'd like that one done. Ashley Cole. Who we thinking at left back, Connor? I don't know, mate. Now I don't know if a lot of people are saying this Burnley thing's true with Charlie. I know, presumably on the player's side, I think he'd be up for it. But if Burnley are blocking it completely, like I said, with Ian Matson not being at Burnley anymore, maybe that's why they're leaning on Charlie a little bit more. That would make sense. Maybe if Maatson was there, Charlie they'd be thinking, oh, we'll loan him out or we'll sell him. But yeah, I guess that makes a little bit more sense. Danny Rose, probably not. Probably not. No. Kai Wagner, no. Stevie Warnock, yeah. I mean, some of these names are getting a bit tragic now, aren't they? Maatson, I don't think he's gone anywhere yet. Ian Maatson wouldn't be a bad signing at all. It'd be very, very nice. I just don't know whether or not he's part of Pochettino's plans, to be honest. Could Leeds test the water for Charlie? Could they? Selling Cine for 30 million when you factor in inflation is basically a loss. Market is inflated with Chelsea. We need to demand more money if he goes. Nobody factors in inflation. Don't know why. True, Nate. Little conversations going on here. Harry Pickering, Myler. Did Joe Bryan get a club? Yeah, he went to Millwall. Ryan Bertrand is available. He is available. Let's get Andy Robertson. Lucas, it's easy to say now, isn't it? It's easy to say now, but he wasn't pulling up any trees, was he? Guys, but we're going to leave it there. Looks like Leeds aren't going to be signing anyone from the noise coming out of the club. Please make sure you like the video. We're going to be back tomorrow with more deadline day streams. Really appreciate your support throughout all of this. If you've got some bonus content, see me waffling again with my old man on Generation Leeds now on the Patreon. Links in the description below if you want to see some bonus content. If you don't, no problem. Guys, really appreciate you stopping by. We'll be back very soon with some more transfer content. I'll see you in a bit. Cheers.